I know folks will join us as we get rolling, but in the interest of time, um, very excited to welcome everyone today. My name is Stony Samso. I'm the executive director and co-founder with Open AIR. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you today and to be here with Courtney Little Axe. I look forward to introducing her. I'd like to introduce you to our committee, and I'm also very excited. This is the last time you'll be hearing from me for a little bit because I'm excited to welcome our new Indigenous Initiatives Coordinator, Maya Chalfant, who is here. Welcome, Maya. We're so glad to have you, and we look forward to introducing you and your work hopefully soon in one of these presentations as well. Our committee started back in 2021 as an opportunity to center Indigenous voices and share more broadly about their creative practices. And this Indigenous series, Indigenous Art, Indigenous Minds, was born out of those conversations. We host all of these presentations online, so please visit our YouTube channel to see more of the work that other artists have presented. And, you know, Open AIR is a place-based artists nonprofit organization. We're based out of Missoula, but serving kind of the broader region. And as a place-based program, we're deeply interested in the connection between people, place, and creativity. And we honor the stewardship of Indigenous people connected to traditional homelands that we now call Montana. Our programming occurs across Western Montana primarily, as I mentioned, in the territories and traditional homelands of the Salish, Pend d'Oreille, Blackfeet, Ani, Kootenai, and Kalispel people. Through our work, we wish to honor the many generations in close relationship with this region that so many of us are fortunate to call home. And you know, I think borrowing from an organization called the Long Now Foundation, I find myself reflecting on the many people who've cared for this place and the animate and natural world connected to it for the past 10,000 years and more, and thinking about those who will steward it into the future for the next 10,000 years to come. And that, for me, kind of grounds me in this work and us organizationally. I invite you all to acknowledge and consider the Indigenous communities connected to the land that you're from, and feel free to chime in on the chat if you have any thoughts. A little housekeeping. I'm looking forward to introducing Courtney here, and if you have questions for her, we'd love to encourage questions and interaction. Please go ahead and keep your mics muted for now, but use the chat box to chime in thoughts and questions as we go, and we'll make sure to save some time at the end for your thoughts. And I think that's it for now, and we'll keep inviting people in as they chime in here. Courtney Little Axe, Northern Cheyenne, Absentee Shawnee, and Seminole founder, transformed traditional art into alternative fashion that commands attention. Her work channels generations of family legacy, ancestral knowledge, and traditional craft, and pairs it with alternative styles, creating one-of-a-kind pieces that break boundaries. Each garment and accessory is more than clothing, it's a declaration, a wearable act of resistance that stands tall against the invisibility of alternative Native people. Alternative is made for the rebels, the outcasts, the ones who don't just reject society's idea of normal, they redefine it on their own terms. We represent those that are tired of being perceived as a relic of the past or a page in a history book. We are not here to please, we're here to exist loudly and fiercely and without apology. Courtney, I'm so thrilled to welcome you today. Thank you for sharing your time and your talents with us, and I would love to turn it over to you.
Thank you for that introduction. Paveshev, Courtney Little Axe, Naheshave, Natistan of Wopomitan, Otsayam Nahesh Sisavan, Nano Evehinat, Nishke Air Time Het to his dust, Na Pivotan Sehowev. Thank you for being here. My name is Courtney Little Axe. My Cheyenne name is Brave Woman, named after my great grandma, the late Jenny Seminole Parker. I'm also Absentee Shawnee and Seminole from Oklahoma. And I will begin because I'm getting into my introduction now. So as I said earlier, I'm Northern Cheyenne, Absentee Shawnee, and Seminole. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I work with different mediums. The mediums span from beadwork to quill work, applique. I dabble in some painting here every now and then, but mainly sewing. I learned how to sew when I was younger. Probably in middle school is when I began sewing. I started out with making my own regalia, my own powwow regalia. So I kind of taught myself how to just by looking at other, well, beadwork wise. I would examine other people's beadwork and try to emulate what I saw. And so I just kind of taught myself that way. And then my grandma's brother actually was the one that told me that I was doing it correctly, just like based on the technique I was using. I started out, there's different types of beadwork. So there's like 2 needle, there's 1 needle, and then there's like different styles like the single stitch, like pebble beadwork and stuff. So I actually started out with 1 needle. And that was, I wanted to learn how to do more. So now I actually work with like a 2 needle stitch. But back to sewing, I actually learned how to do traditional Seminole patchwork, specifically from my grandma, who is Seminole. She One day, I think it was about 2 years ago when I was visiting for Christmas, she brought out all of her Seminole patchwork and all her books and everything, and she gave them to me and told me that now, because she's getting older and she's can hardly see now and hear, so she told me that she wanted me to start doing patchwork, and so that's kind of where I started incorporating patchwork into my brand and into my designs. Let's see. I only have a few slides, so yeah, I'll get into it. So let's talk about my brand. So my brand I started out with alternative because I felt that there was kind of a need for representation of Native, Indigenous, alternative Indigenous people. And so I started it because I wanted to promote more free expression and to fuse my cultural identity and with more contemporary wear. I started to kind of just explore what that would look like because um, I wanted that specific style, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I just started making it myself. And so keeping that in mind, I kind of started, at the time I was working in Los Angeles, and it was during the pandemic. And so I had a lot of, free time at home after work and stuff. So I kind of just like, I guess, kept that idea in my head that if I needed that sort of style, or if I was seeking out that sort of style, that other people would be in the same boat as me. So that's where I started just creating things. And I started out with beaded earrings at first and started incorporating the more alternative style within my beadwork. And so I started making beaded earrings, and then I started making spike chokers. And that's kind of where I got the idea. I guess actually prior to that, I knew that I wanted to start alternative in about 2020. I actually found on my computer this sketch that I drew of like this spider, but it was made out of a strawberry. And it said alternative on the top. And so that was my idea, put on paper. And so I had the idea, I just didn't do it until the pandemic. And so I wanted to with this brand, wanted to advocate for more visibility, more representation. And within my brand, I really highly value sustainability and quality. And so that means that so the sustainability aspect of it comes from my, I guess, my interest in being more, I guess, sustainable minded, I guess, for lack of a better word, but just being more respectful to the earth and not with my brand, I did not want to mass produce anything. And so I actually began thrifting and creating things out of those pieces of clothing that I thrifted. And so the reason I did this is not only for sustainability, but also because it's fun for me. I like to, figure out what I can make out of something that is already made. And just, I guess, also being resourceful, because when I was younger, I didn't really have access to a lot of things like beads or anything like that. So I would either like try to make something from something I already had. And sometimes that meant I took apart old beadwork and then redid it in a different way, or I would take like a t-shirt and then I would paint on it and then use beads and bead on the shirt. I actually made my little brother's very first fancy dance outfit in that way. And so yeah, it was just what I had access to at the time. So kind of bringing that more into my brand still to this day. It I guess like kind of scratches a itch in my brain a little bit, because I can take like a dress, like a simple dress, and then use the fabric to create something else. Sometimes it's applique. Will use something, reuse fabric, or I'll use as much, if I do have like a yardage or yards of fabric, then I try to use every piece, or I save those scraps and then I can use them for applique later on. And so it's just, being resourceful. Also, it kind of emulates how my ancestors operated, throughout generations, where they would utilize, every aspect, every piece of a buffalo or a deer or any sort of animal, because it was just more of a respect thing for that animal as well, for giving its life up. And so that's kind of, keeping that in mind. It's just, creating things that out of every little scrap, every little piece of fabric that I have, and trying not to be wasteful. And that, goes along with the sustainability aspect of it. For the cultural designs, I kind of step outside of the box when it comes to cultural designs, because I don't want to be seen, or I don't want to be just, I guess, limited in the way that, we think that Native fashion is supposed to look like. I want to be able to create things like with a contemporary twist to it. Sometimes people don't necessarily like that, just because, like even within my own cultures, like black, the color black, we're not supposed to wear black because it's like associated with death, or but it's just, when I use it in more contemporary context, I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to mean that same thing. And that kind of is going against like these taboos and everything, is it kind of is a little challenging at times, just because there's so many different beliefs, there's so many different teachings and everything within our own cultures. And sometimes like just stepping outside of that is it's a little scary. You want to be respectful of your culture, but also like you don't want to kind of you don't want to be like in the introduction that was said earlier, you don't want to be a page in a history book or a relic, just we're here and present times, and I want that to be known through my art. And so, I don't necessarily use like more traditional, sometimes I use traditional symbolism, such as the upside down dragonfly has become sort of my signature in a lot of my pieces. And there's you'll probably see it in some of the photos in the other slides. But basically, the reason why I created this, or utilized the upside down or a dragonfly and then I flipped it upside down, is because it's in my head, to represent my ancestors and all of their sacrifices, and them going underground with our ceremonies and everything, so that we could continue to exist as, Cheyenne people, as Absentee Shawnee people, and Seminole people. And so that when I flip it upside down, it's like our resistance against Christianity, while also, kind of symbolizing like us going underground with our ceremony, so that we could continue to thrive and exist here today. So I'll continue on. A timeline of my fashion brand. There's a lot that I've done over the course of 5 years. So I launched my brand in 2021. And like I said earlier, before that, I had the idea to launch it. But aside from my being a fashion designer, I also have like multiple other lives. I am a full-time NAGPRA repatriation coordinator and collections manager, which means that I help return ancestors and belongings or artifacts back to their home communities from institutions, from universities, museums. I help with, bringing things home. And so that's kind of like, that's my focus, my career. But the reason why I also made this fashion brand too is kind of to utilize it as an outlet, a creative outlet to bring myself away from my work, just because that work is so heavy, it's so exhausting, so emotionally taxing. And so it's kind of to get my mind off of that and away from that, and to really, I guess, also try to exhibit my creativity through my art. Um, and yeah, so it's an outlet for me. And and then aside from that, I'm also a tour manager slash assistant to a musician. And so yeah, I don't know where I find the time. Everybody always asks me that all the time. They're like, when do you sleep? I was like, I don't know, like I sleep, 2 hours. No. But no, it's really, I have, I try to prioritize myself in the way that, because my work is so, I'm doing it for other people, for other communities, for even my own people. I try to prioritize myself with my fashion. And then, away from that, I like to go to concerts all the time and stuff. So those are kind of my outlets away from my career. Okay, back to the timeline. So let's see, I started in 2021, and that's when I launched my brand, and I launched it with a like a earring release. And basically I made a bunch of alternative style earrings, and I launched it in October 2021. But it was it was a raffle. And so it was basically to garner attention to my craft, and to just start getting more, more of an audience, so that I could continue to launch more alternative style wear. And so, yeah, that went, I think, October, I can't remember, 28th, I believe. It was like a Halloween launch. So those specific those specific earrings that I made were more Halloween kind of themed. Yeah, so that was fun. That's how I launched my brand. I didn't know how to go about it, just because I had never run a business before. The extent of my business experience was being a part of the American Indian Business Leaders at the University of Montana, where I went to college at. And so I kind of had a little bit of an idea of how to do it, but I kind of just jumped in it, and it's, been a trial and error. I've made mistakes and learned from everything. And so I'm still to this day learning how to run a business for myself. And it's not easy, especially with having a full-time career. I just kind of like, I don't know, stumble through everything, but it's worked out so far. So usually does work out. So each of the pieces that I make is handmade, and it's, yeah, I repurpose and thrift materials to for sustainability, is what I said earlier. But let's see, let's jump into 2023 was my very first fashion show. And this was a fashion show. It was the Indigenous Peoples Day Phoenix Fest. And so that was yeah, in Phoenix, Arizona. And so that one was really fun. I think I have a photo. It might have been in the last one, last slide. Let me just see. Yes, this photo right here in the middle. So that was my very, very first fashion line. And I had no idea what I was doing. I kind of just like, created all of these pieces. I didn't even know if they would fit the models. And to my surprise, I was able to, all of them fit exactly how I needed them to. So yeah, that was my very first fashion line in Phoenix, Arizona. And it was fun because it was like actually like a pretty big fashion show. So a few of my friends, they were part of this this group in Phoenix that put on this fashion show for Indigenous Peoples Day. So they just happened to they knew that I wanted to start doing fashion, and so they just asked me to be a part of it. So I opened up the show, and it was great. It was amazing, and I'm super thankful for all of them for helping me get started with alternative. So the fashion shows in 2023 that I did were Indigenous Peoples Day in Phoenix. And then I did the Oklahoma Native American Youth Language Fair fashion show in Norman, Oklahoma at the Seminole Museum. And that was kind of incorporating more language. I actually, in the introduction, did a all Cheyenne. Was it all Cheyenne? Yes, it was an all Cheyenne introduction. And that's kind of like the basis around like the reason why they had this event was for the youth. It was a language fair. They had like prizes and stuff, so that was really fun. Actually, one of the ladies in the museum said, I don't think that there's ever been metal played like that in the museum. So it was really funny. I was like, oh well, let me know if you want me to come back. And then after that, I did the Pathways Fashion Showcase in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Let me see if this picture in the middle. And so this was, I created, more things based on like, I started doing, so my first show, I was kind of like just trying to dip my toes into like I guess like how to create fashion based off of like thrifting materials and stuff. And so this one actually, I have a lot of original pieces in here because I was still kind of like, experimenting with different mediums, different materials and stuff. And so this one, it was probably one of the best ones that I would say that I've done, just because I think it was more experimental for me, and just paying attention to different materials and stuff was really fun. And then 2024, let's see, I did Native Fashion in the City in Denver, Colorado, and then I did Big Sky Indigifest in Billings, and then I did On Our Legacy Fashion Show in Box Elder. I did Trends and Traditions of the Plains in Missoula, and then I did Native Max Takes the Northwest in Tacoma, Washington, and then this is where in 2024, I made the goal that I wanted to headline a show. And so I said by the end of 2025 that I would headline it. And that was like my goal. Little did I know the end of 2024 in December, when I actually was like, trying to project how I was going to achieve this goal, I got asked to headline a show in Lawrence, Kansas. And so that was kind of a really huge milestone for me. I attained that goal or reached that goal a lot quicker than I had expected. And so I was super ecstatic about it. And that was probably one of my proudest moments. So then 2025, I did Missoula Fashion Week here in Missoula, Montana. And then I did the Uplift fashion show for Sky Eagle Collection in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And you'll see footage of that one. It was really fun. I did, it was a Halloween, or well, no, that wasn't the Halloween themed show. That was during the Indian market. And so, yeah, I had a lot of fun with that one. I feel like that one was more relaxed and more laid back. I kind of figured out how to, how I operate and how the models operate and how we can I figured out that I don't like stress and chaotic situations or environments. And so I work better when we're just kind of like taking our time all day and, listening to music and eating and stuff while we're getting ready and everything. So that was the first time I opted to get ready at our hotel rather than at the venue. And I feel like it did that, I guess, essence, that atmosphere that that we had created while we were just getting ready in the hotel. Like it was very super like laid back and chill. And so that kind of translated over into the show. And it actually did. It was a really good show for us. So after Uplift, I think I was trying to focus on, after Uplift, I did the let's see. I think I have the date wrong. Oh yeah, that was supposed to be 2025 on New York Fashion Week. So after Uplift, I did New York Fashion Week. In what was that? I can't remember. Also in between there, I went to Paris to meet with some um other shops, other designers and stuff to see if I was with another group of native designers from Montana, and we were just we just visited them to see if like our brands would fit into the French market, and we got to, uh, do a bunch of meetings with other designers and people within the fashion industry in Paris. So that was really cool. So we didn't do a fashion show there. It was more so just having meetings and stuff. So in between, I think Uplift and the New York Fashion Week is when I attended that in Paris, and so that was really fun. But New York Fashion Week was good. It was the very first. It was the inaugural Indigenous New York Fashion Week. And so I was surprised that I had been chosen, just because I am not as known as a lot of other designers and that were a part of that. So I was super, super excited about that. And this is where I actually debuted. If you can see in the middle of this photo up here, there's I have a Dear Lady look, and I actually debuted that look in New York Fashion Week. And so I worked hard on it. Her headpiece is all beaded. And so, yeah, I actually, so with that piece, I upcycled like this 80s style wedding dress that I had thrifted. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? And so I created all of this whole look out of a wedding dress. And yeah, so that's probably one of my proudest pieces, other than I have a rib cage corset that I created out of wire and blanket batting and fabric. And so that was probably, oh, and then I also have another beaded headpiece, which is a beaded thorn crown. But the Dear Lady look was pretty significant, or pretty, I guess, prominent for me, just because it was like something that I had in my mind for a while and that I wanted to create, but I just didn't know how. And so I thought that New York Fashion Week would be the perfect time to create something and then and release it during New York Fashion Week. So that was really cool. So then after New York, this is crazy, but I went to New York Fashion Week, and then 2 weeks after that, I went to Milan. So Milan Fashion Week was super fun. I actually really like Milan a lot. It was, and I'll definitely go back. It was just, I guess, like I kind of felt like I wasn't alone because I was with other fashion designers, but it was an Indigenous showcase show at Milan Fashion Week. And so I was around people, but I had my own Airbnb, and then the models actually were staying with one of the other designers. So I used the other designers' models. So I didn't get to take my whole team or my own team. Just I felt like that was probably the best way to kind of get into the international market, just because it was not as stressful for me to try to get everybody there to Milan if I were to have a whole team. So I met a lot of cool people there. Milan Fashion Week was great. You'll see some footage at the end of this. And yeah, so then now I actually this year I did actually at the end of 2025, I did an October Halloween fashion show in where was it at? It was in New Mexico. But yeah, so Farmington. It was in Farmington, New Mexico. And so that was really fun because it was more my vibe. It was a Halloween show. So, and as you can probably guess, I love Halloween. So it was really cool. I really that was also a time where I really was able to do like makeup looks that I really liked and really wanted. And so you can tell that we really took our time on that one. So that was fun. And that was the first time I was able to bring my own, or was it Santa Fe? Anyways, so I finally have a makeup artist that is able to kind of do the looks that I really like in a way that I'm like super blown away by the way that she works and the way that if I say something and I'm just like, you know, give her creative freedom, it just like turns out amazing. So I have, yeah, I have like a fashion or makeup artist that goes with me now, 2 places, which is fun. That's in itself is a milestone for me too. And so I just did recently a fashion show in Oklahoma City. And that one was really fun too. I had a great time, and I think that was also, we got ready at the Airbnb, and I think it was just super fun. My aunt actually cooked us, you know, brunch and like got us breakfast and everything. So it was a super good time. And I like that we can get ready in a different area than having to like be at the venue, because it creates more of a calmer vibe, I guess. And I really like, that's how I like to operate, is just like, I don't like to be stressed out during fashion shows. So now 2026, I am preparing for Tokyo Fashion Week. And I'm still kind of a little in shock that I'm going to Tokyo Fashion Week, but I think it'll be such a great time, because this time I get to bring my hair and makeup artist, and I get to bring a full team. I did a model call and picked all my models and everybody, and then I have like assistants that are going. So I have like a total of around like 20 people going. And it's kind of, you know, we're fundraising to go and everything, because we still have to pay our own way. But if any of you on here know of any sponsors, we're looking for sponsors to help us get to Tokyo. But that's the next thing on my radar, or the next thing on my list that I'm doing. And that'll be June 19th will be the show. And we're actually staying there, probably get there the 16th, and then some of us will stay longer. And then, yeah, the show's on the 19th. So super excited for that one. Yeah, and then let's see. So here are a few photos of some of my looks, that recent looks, past looks. As you can see here, the Dear Lady look is like, you know, my prized look. Her headpiece is all beaded. This one also, here's the ribcage corset. And then here is the beaded thorn crown that I was talking about. So those two looks are they were like my final looks. And so I paid a lot more attention to detail when I was creating these 2 looks. And the rest of them are more so like kind of like streetwear and stuff. I try to make sure that, you know, whatever I make is also wearable. And so like it just like, how do I say it? Like, in the beginning of my shows, I like to have like wearable looks, and then at the end is kind of more like the museum pieces, you know, the final looks that really exhibit my talents, and like with, you know, applique or they just are a little bit more creative, and more, I pay more attention to detail with those 2. So with the Dear Lady look, actually, I was gifted when I was in Paris meeting with a bunch of like other designers and stuff. I was gifted some material from Balmain, and Balmain is like a big fashion house in Paris. And so they were the place that we were at, they were working on Balmain's like newest collection for their like, I think it was like the fall release or something. And so we were kind of fangirling over that, and they offered to give us some material from their the Balmain collection. And so I, of course, picked out, they gave me so much fabric, but I picked out the shiny leather. And so if you look on the Dear Ladies top right here, this piece is where I made these pieces, are made out of the leather that I got in Paris. I was really scared to cut it because I didn't want to ruin it. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to use it for. So I was like, I'll just barely cut a little bit, you know, and use it for my final look for New York. And then, yeah, so this one was in Oklahoma City. This was my most recent fashion show, and that was really fun. And then this was at Oklahoma City too. And I actually, so this down here in the bottom right is a jacket that I created called, and it's a patch that I painted and then I hand stitch on, or I did embroidery. I didn't know how to do embroidery, but I figured it out. And so that's another thing that's fun for me, is just like being creative and figuring out how to do things. And as you can see at the top of this jacket is that's Seminole Patrick. And so my grandma, that's her, actually her clan. So when I wear my dresses, there's my grandma made them, and so that symbol, that patchwork, is usually in there because it's her clan design, which is the Wind Clan. And so she taught me how to do that when I was like, I think like in 8th grade. She taught me how to do that specific design. So I had to, kind of put a little bit of inspiration from my grandma in there. So the Return Our Ancestors jacket is like probably one of my favorites, just because it also kind of goes with, it's inspired by my work as a repatriation coordinator. And so it just like, it's inspired in a way that, because like there's, repatriation is so difficult sometimes, just because institutions, museums, they would find, or they try to find loopholes to hold on to either our ancestors or our sacred belongings and everything. So so this was kind of, I debuted this, I can't remember, but I also took this to Kansas, and it was in a specific museum. And so it was kind of a little like message to them. And so yeah, so I also, a lot of times within any sort of alternative subgenres like punk and metal, and it's all based around kind of going against authority. And so in some of my looks, you'll see just different things like the Return Our Ancestors, or I have different. I try to be more vocal by utilizing my platform too, just because it's a lot more. I'm also like into social justice and stuff like that, and so that's all tied into my brand as well. But yeah, so the Return Our Ancestors jacket, I've been wanting to release, this specific design on t-shirts, and we actually did that. So if you want to support us going to Tokyo, we're doing a pre-sale right now for the Return Our Ancestors shirts and crew necks, and all of the proceeds from that will help us get to Tokyo. And let's see. Oh, here's a few of the videos that I was talking about. So the first video on the left is actually the Santa Fe Halloween show. I mean, not Santa Fe, Farmington Halloween show. And that was like probably one of my favorites to be a part of. The middle is Milan Fashion Week. And that was super fun too. It was my very first time, showing anything internationally. So that was a very I guess, special, important occasion for me. And then the one on the far right is the Uplift fashion show for Sky Eagle Collection. Sky Eagle Collection is a different native brand, and they produced the show. They put it on, so that was also pretty fun, and it was wild. You can see in this video, it'll replay again, but it started raining right before we went on, and we were like, oh gosh, like is it gonna like pour on us? But the footage, the way the rain, like you can see it in the footage, is like makes it more of like a little more magical, and it kind of fits our vibe. Fits my vibe of my brand. But yeah, so I had super fun. I also did, so the Dear Lady's hair on this, I actually do hair too. So I did her hair for that. But yeah, so these are all just you know, my looks. I'm actually retiring all of these looks. Hopefully I'll put them up for sale soon when my website's done. I've been meaning to get my website done for a while. I wanted to revamp it. So that's in the works. Actually, Tiffany, who is in this chat, is working on my website for me. And yeah, so those are a few of my shows. So that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I have all of my social media up here in the corner. And then if you are interested in bringing me to any fashion shows or anything like that, my email is there, alternative.brand@gmail.com. And yeah, so also sponsorships. If you know anybody that wants to sponsor us to go to Tokyo, send me an email. So I appreciate you all and thank you for your time and having me here. Yeah, thank you.
Courtney, thank you so much. Sorry, it looks like our internet cut out for a little bit, but you were able to stay on, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for you're sharing your amazing work with us and your amazing history, and what incredible acceleration in this short period of your career. It's just so impressive and wonderful to see the support that you've received from the different community, and like how brave you've been to just like lean into the unknown and to tackle the things that you didn't know about. And I love that. I think that's such a power of the the power of creativity. And so thank you for sharing with us. I want to turn it over for other people's questions, but I have one real quick. One more note is that I love how you focused on the chill and relaxed aspect, and how important that was for like your culture and your team before a show. And that is antithetical to what we know about fashion shows and like the entire tempo and pace of the fashion world. And just props for that. I think that that's really interesting, and it seems important too. A question I had was just about with each of your looks, if you could like drill into it a little bit. Is there like a narrative component to your looks? Are you thinking about storytelling with each piece, or is it more about materiality and like the kind of repurposed nature and what you can do with that? How do you think about that?
So a lot of the times when I'm creating something, I'm listening to music and I'm very influenced by the music that I listen to. And so sometimes like I'll be influenced by different colors or different textures, or, just different things within the music and like how I interpret it as I'm sewing. And so I make sure, to utilize that. Okay, so there's actually it was funny. It wasn't during COVID, I believe, or it might have been before that. But I remember this YouTube video popping up, and there was this lady, and she was talking about having synesthesia. And so when she would play notes, she would see different colors. And then she made this comment where she was in a music class, and she said that her teacher mentioned that people could see colors or taste different things when they see different words, or like there's different types of synesthesia, but hers specifically was that she could see colors. And that was like intriguing to me, because I thought that's how everybody could see things, or yeah, when I would listen to music, I remember telling this person who was like they were going through a hard time. And I said, when I go through hard times and I'm like just so like, depressed or like stressed or something, I said, just go into a room and put like a blindfold on, turn off all the lights and lay there and listen to music and watch the colors. And she kind of was just like, like, I don't know what you mean by that. And I was just like, no, like if you just watch the color, like it helps you to relax and everything. And so I did not have any idea that people didn't see that way. And so certain sounds will also come up as like certain textures and colors and stuff. And so that kind of also informs how I create. So I like to listen to a lot of different styles of metal, different, goth music, like anything that will a lot of times it's like even newer music too, so that I can kind of get a sense of like how to create something that is based on that specific song or something. And so, or like if there's like a new album out, then of like my favorite artist, I'll listen to that while I'm creating. So so that kind of actually I get a lot of influence from the music I listen to.
Amazing. Thank you. Speaking of color, can we talk about the color black a little bit? You mentioned it earlier, and that you think about it in a different way. Can you share more about how you think about the color black? Is it symbolic? Is it what is its function and support in your work?
It's not necessarily like symbolic or anything. I just like it. I like it's for me, it's more of like a base. Like it helps to bring out different, I guess, like different materials or a different style of like so like just different I feel like it's a good base for especially like ribbon or like I just like a dark base a lot of the time. I'm not necessarily like I don't really like white also because it gets dirty quickly. And so I just like it as like something to create my looks around. So if you see on the like on the left picture if my screen is still up, she has like a sheer black over the top of it where I could put a color underneath it, so it kind of it creates like it helps create more of like a an effect as well. But yeah, I just really like black.
Awesome. Okay, I want to make sure everybody else has a chance to ask some questions. I see one from Anne, and feel free to drop any questions or comments you have. Certainly a lot of wonderful support and cheering you on throughout your presentation. Anne was asking you to share more about Dear Lady and the inspiration around her, and also a functional question of how are the antlers actually attached to her head?
She grew them. No, I'm just kidding. No. So Dear Lady is kind of like is a I don't want to say like mythical. They're like Dear Lady is a spirit within different cultures who actually protects women and children. So she goes after bad men and people that harm women and children. And so she is more of yeah, like a protector spirit and like people are it's there's like different I remember one story that was told to me about these hunters going after this lady or this deer and they shot the deer, but then it turned out to be like a person, a lady. And so I won't get into specifics because yeah, anyways. So basically like I've heard stories about deer lady since I was younger, from different areas. There's different interpretations, but yeah, it's more of like my like down south cultures. And then yeah, I so Dear Lady is more of a protector spirit. And then her the way that I made her antlers, they're actually foam. They're made out of foam and I beat it around the foam. And they're actually really hard to attach to the head because they're kind of heavy at the top. So I still haven't quite figured out how to attach them in a way like that is super stable. During New York Fashion Week was probably the time when I debuted them was probably the best time that I had figured out how to attach them. So there was like elastic that goes through them and then they kind of wrap around the back of the head and then I just a ton of bobby pins. And then the chains at the top help to keep them more uniform and together so that they're not like going all over the place, because they aren't attached together. They're actually like separate pieces. So yeah, it's been difficult trying to figure that out. It's kind of trial and error. I haven't really figured out exactly what works better. I just kind of try to tack them down with bobby pins as much as I can.
Awesome. And then there's another question from Anne as well, maybe asking if there's a mariachi influence with the model in the jacket with the safety pins, with the black and white face and guitar, maybe from one of your earlier slides.
Let's see. Guitar.
I don't know. Anne, you're welcome to unmute too if you want to clarify that question. Her eyes are better than mine if she's seeing safety pins. Oh, like that one maybe? Anne, is that it?
Oh, I'm so impressed with your design. And Kathy Bartlett had actually, I think, brought your work to our attention when we were trying to put together some projects for Molly. And so we've been both, I think, following you for a while. It was in the parade when they were walking. I don't know if it was the Milan show, and he has the guitar over his shoulder.
Oh, yeah. Not really. I just kind of, so there's on the back of it, it has a patch that says for the broken youth. And so it's more like, it's more punk inspired. That one, the one in the middle. Go back.
Well, the man who was modeling's face, the makeup was half white on the front and half black, and then the jacket on the side had these pins.
I think I know.
Anyway,
so that one.
Yeah, there.
So
that's what.
So that makeup is inspired by Cheyenne Society, the Dog Soldier Society, who is a military society for our tribe. And so, yeah, that makeup is inspired by that. And then the jacket is just more punk based because on the back it says for the broken youth and it has the upside down dragonfly on it.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you so much for the clarification.
Yeah.
Courtney, would you be able to drop a link to, I'm sure there's many people here who would love to support your work, and maybe you said there were some pre-sale opportunity. I think that's right as my internet was cutting out, but do you have a link you could drop in to send people towards supporting you, or if we can send it along afterwards, certainly. Oh, go ahead.
I'll try to find it really quick.
Perfect.
You can continue to ask me questions.
Yeah, great. If anybody, you're welcome to unmute or again drop something in the chat, and otherwise I can keep peppering Courtney with all of my questions that I have. I guess I'm interested in your relationship with the models. What's that like for you? How much do you get to go into depth and have a connection with them? Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So with the models, I actually, one of the best compliments I ever received from somebody, one of the models said, like, this is the best show I've been a part of and the best experience I've had with a designer. And I was like, that makes me feel good because I want my models to feel comfortable when they're modeling. I want them to feel like, I want them to have fun most of all, because modeling can be very, how do I say it? Very structured at times and very just like the designer, sometimes we'll have them walk a certain way or have them, do something like that they want them to do, like choreography and stuff. And like my brand is not about that. My brand is about like individuality, like really exhibiting our pieces and our personalities. I want them to like show, see like this guy, he's, sticking his tongue out and stuff. And like, that is, to me, is like what represents my brand. Like, I want you to be your individual self. I don't want you to have to like do choreography or, walk a certain way. I want you to walk your certain way. And then I just say like, the only thing I say is, try to like be a little intimidating or show like you own the room, you own the runway. Like it's just based on your own style. So yeah, whatever they want to do on the runway in my clothes, like that's fine for me. But yeah, so with the models, I have so much fun with them, and I'm always like, I wish we could just like do this all the time, like every day, just get dressed up and like do a fashion show. Because we like spend all day together and then we talk about like music or just different things, and that's also how people become friends. So a lot of these models that you see in these shows or in these videos are actually walking for me in Tokyo. So they've gotten to know my style and the way that I operate, and we just like really mesh well. And so it's been, I do become friends with them, and I do utilize a lot of the models over again, because I know I get to know them through, you know, even their own creativity in makeup. You know, sometimes they'll do their own makeup, and that's a big thing too, is like I'm not super picky, and I say that a lot of the times because I want them to feel confident. And if they want to do their makeup a certain way, that's fine. But yeah, it's more of I like I utilize the same models and stuff, but I become friends with a lot of them. So I've utilized a lot of models, different models over the years, and a lot of times those same models will apply to other shows. And so I know that I can rely on them. I know that they know how I operate and stuff. So it's not like doesn't cause, you know, any problems or anything like that. So but yeah, I like to get to know them, and a lot of times we're friends, you know, afterwards.
Awesome. How many folks, how big is your team going to Tokyo? Maybe you mentioned this.
Yeah, it's about 20 people. That yeah, so I have 14 models, and then I have a hair and makeup, and then I have assistants, and then my family, my mom and my sister are actually coming with me too.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
that's support.
And remind me the target date for that. When are you looking at Tokyo?
June 19th.
Okay, it's coming up. Good. Well, we'll make sure to get everybody the link to help support your efforts there, unless you found it.
Yeah. Where is the chat?
And did you have a is there a concept, and excuse me because the internet cut out, so if you already discussed this, but is there a concept you're going into Tokyo with? Are you how are you thinking about your show there?
It's a surprise. No, I don't really have a concept yet. I'm kind of just like, I don't know, just basically like when I create pieces, sometimes I don't really have like a whole story. Like one, I do eventually want to do something like that where I tell a whole story with a line, but I just like individual looks. I don't it's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have like a cohesive like idea for all the pieces.
Sure.
Did that work? Did I?
Oh yeah, looks like it's there. Okay, so you can check out there's a chat box with the little kind of square icon with a little triangle down at the bottom of it, probably bottom right of your screen if you're on a laptop, and you can check out the chat, and Courtney just dropped that, and we'll also make sure to share it in our other channels. Courtney, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with folks while you have us here? It's really so neat to see about your work, and just fantastic collection, and wishing you the best of success as you continue on your journey. You're just at the beginning of it right now, I can tell. So it's very exciting. Anything else you'd like to share with folks?
Not at the moment. I think, I don't know. If anybody has questions or anything, can find me on social media, through my alternative accounts. But yeah, I would, like I said, if you know anybody that might want to help support us or help sponsor us, I'm just now starting to get letters out for sponsorship. So
Awesome.
email me.
And actually, maybe before we let you all go, looks like Maya has a question. We have time for one more question, Maya.
It's not really a question, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. As a fellow Indigenous Cheyenne woman, it's really awesome to see somebody from my own community doing such big and beautiful things and promoting expression, because I know how difficult it is sometimes, and the way that you're presenting your work, it's so beautiful, and it's so like well thought out and put together. And I think that's something that, like, these younger generations that are coming up, a lot of them are like alternative style, and that was something that like I grew up with in high school. Like that was kind of my style, and so to like see it hitting the runways and to see it done so beautifully is amazing. So Niaish for that.
Thank you. That means a lot. That actually, it does mean a lot, because it's like I also want to uplift, especially Cheyenne, and Shawnee and Seminole, people from my tribe. I want to create an environment and like create a brand that they also, are feel represented. And so I'm glad, thank you for your words, because that means a lot.
Of course.
Awesome. Thank you, Maya, and thank you, Courtney, for your time today. Wishing you all the best, and we'll look forward to continuing to follow your good work.
Thank you.